The teasers dropped, the fandom went silent, and then, in an instant, the entire K-pop world was turned upside down.
Oh my gosh, I still get chills just thinking about that day.
Right. I mean, imagine walking out to your car in the morning, you're getting ready for work, you drop your keys, you reach under the chassis to grab them, and you find a small black GPS tracking device magnetically attached to the undercarriage.
Just completely terrifying.
And while you're reeling from that massive violation of your physical privacy, your phone just starts blowing up. A highly coordinated online campaign is simultaneously spreading vicious, like entirely fabricated lies about you to millions of people.
And we're not just talking about some angry trolls in a basement here.
Exactly. These individuals orchestrating this digital mob are running highly optimized businesses. They are making massive profits and ad revenue specifically by ruining your reputation.
It literally sounds like a targeted corporate assassination.
It really does. But this isn't a spy thriller. This is the daily reality for some of the biggest K-pop stars on the planet. Welcome to StarScope K-Report. Join us as we ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates. From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
Yes, we do, and today's topic is just massive.
It is. We're doing a deep dive into the explosive, quote-unquote, lawsuit of the century filed by the agency behind the global K-pop group ATZ and the shocking legal loophole that makes their entire retaliation possible.
What's fascinating here is that the K-pop industry is essentially acting as a stress test for global internet law. Like, this isn't just about celebrity gossip.
No, not at all.
It's a profound look at privacy, freedom of speech, and a legal system that operates completely differently than what many of you listening might assume.
And just a quick note on our sources today. We are operating off a really fascinating stack of materials. We've got official agency statements from KQ Entertainment, extensive reporting from Korean outlets like the Korea Herald and Chosunbiz, and a really comprehensive legal analysis from the University of San Diego.
Which fundamentally changes how you look at freedom of speech, by the way.
Totally. So let's start with the catalyst. KQ Entertainment, the agency for ATEZ, recently drew a line in the sand. They declared a zero-tolerance legal war.
And honestly, it's about time.
Yeah, when you read the details in their official statements, the level of harassment is genuinely shocking. We aren't talking about mean tweets or, critical album reviews. They are dealing with Sasaengs.
Ugh, the Sasaengs. For any newer listeners, that's the industry term for obsessively invasive stalker fans.
Right. These are the individuals who illegally attached those location tracking devices to ATZ's business vehicles.
The mechanics of that physical stalking are terrifying. Because it requires a level of organization and premeditation that goes way beyond casual fandom.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they are systematically tagging vehicles to map the daily movements of these artists, where they sleep, where they eat, where they practice for their next comeback. KQ Entertainment was very clear in their statement that this physical surveillance has caused profound psychological suffering for the members of ATZ.
It's just brutal. But physical stalking, as invasive as it is only one front of this war. The digital front is arguably more damaging because it is highly lucrative. And that brings us to a term that kept popping up in our source material: cyber wreckers.
Cyber wreckers, yeah.
Yeah.
Candidates talk about them constantly.
When I first read that, I pictured someone just leaving nasty comments. But this is an entire cottage industry, isn't it?
Oh, it is a fully realized business model.
Mm-hmm.
Cyber wreckers are content creators, mostly operating on YouTube, who act as algorithmic scavengers.
Algorithmic scavengers, wow.
Yeah, they aren't just gossiping. They monitor search trends. When a huge group like ATZ has a comeback or a new release, search volume for their name naturally skyrockets.
Right, they're dominating the charts, maybe going for an all-kill.
Exactly. So the cyber wreckers siphon that search traffic by manufacturing outrage. They gather tiny fragments of rumors, exaggerate them, manipulate context, and package them as absolute fact with these crazy clickbait thumbnails.
So they're essentially weaponizing the algorithm. They know that outrage generates higher engagement than positive news.
Yeah, and higher engagement pushes their videos to more people. In the digital economy, outrage equals viewership, and viewership equals ad revenue.
Wow.
They are quite literally monetizing the destruction of reputations. They are short-selling a celebrity's mental health for YouTube ad payouts.
And KQ Entertainment is going after them hard. Back in 2022, they filed a lawsuit against one of these specific YouTubers. They cited the content as completely fabricated and sued for defamation, violation of copyright, and obstruction of business.
Which is a huge deal.
Yeah, they made a distinct point in their public statement that profiting off these violations is an unforgivable offense.
And that aggressive stance by KQ is part of this massive seismic shift across the entire K-pop industry right now. Historically, the prevailing notion in Korean entertainment was that idols simply had to endure malicious comments.
Right, it was framed as like the tax you pay for fame.
Exactly. An agency might issue a mild warning or ask for an apology to protect their visuals or their macne, but it rarely went further. But now, agencies are demonstrating they will commit massive financial and legal resources to completely dismantle these channels.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Because if these cyber wreckers are operating internationally, often hiding behind anonymous handles on global platforms like YouTube or X, how does a Korean agency have any actual teeth?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Like, why isn't a massive tech giant like Google just laughing off these removal requests from a foreign entertainment company?
Well, that is the exact hurdle agencies have been trying to clear for years, and they finally cracked the code.
Oh, and this is wild. If you love staying updated on your favorites, make sure you're subscribed to StarScope K Report, because we've got even bigger scoops ahead on how they actually pulled this off.
Yes, definitely subscribe.
Right.
Because the sources detail how major agencies are no longer just sending polite takedown requests. They are utilizing international legal frameworks.
Right, like that landmark 2024 case.
Yes, the one involving Starship Entertainment, the agency for the massive girl group IVE. They targeted a notorious cyber wrecker channel called Sasaeng.
Oh, Sasaeng. That channel was relentless.
Completely relentless. They spent months attacking IV's visual center, Jang Won-young. Knas were furious. International fans were mass emailing the agency. It was a whole thing.
So how did Starship actually get to the person behind the anonymous channel? Because they were hiding behind a fake name, right?
Right. So Starship didn't just complain to YouTube Korea. They went through the United States federal court system.
Which is just a massive flex.
Totally. They filed a legal request in the U.S. to obtain a subpoena compelling Google headquarters in California to hand over the personal identifying information of the user behind the Sasaeng account.
Wow.
And once Google complied and handed over the identity, Starship took that information back to South Korea and filed a massive civil suit for damages against the individual.
That is just wild. They effectively bypassed the local roadblock by utilizing the U.S. court system's discovery process.
Yeah, and that Starship case is now widely regarded within the industry as the ultimate benchmark. It proved that international platforms are no longer safe havens for anonymous defamation.
But as the Korea Herald analysis points out, this approach has some pretty severe structural limitations.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I can see why. The legal process you just described, filing in U.S. courts, waiting for a judge to grant a subpoena, serving Google, getting the data, translating it, and then filing a suit in Korea, that has to take months, if not years.
It is incredibly slow. Legal action is fundamentally reactive. You cannot sue someone for a defamatory video they haven't uploaded yet.
Right, obviously.
So by the time an agency's legal team mobilizes, the rumor has already spread across social media, the artist's reputation has taken the hit, and the cyber wrecker has already cashed the ad revenue check.
It is a system built for damage control, not prevention.
Exactly. Which explains the incredible fan army strategy KQ Entertainment deployed.
Oh, I loved reading about this part, because if the lawyers are too slow to catch the initial spark, the agency needs a massive distributed network to monitor the internet 24/7.
They are basically deputizing their own fandoms.
It is a brilliant utilization of crowdsourcing. Fans are already hyper-engaged online. They spot malicious content hours, sometimes minutes, after it goes live, way before an agency's internal monitoring team would flag it.
But if you have a fandom of millions of people and they all start emailing the agency every time they see a mean tweet, that sounds like an administrative nightmare.
Oh, totally. Like, how do they actually process that data?
Well, they turn the fandom into a structured data gathering machine. KQ Entertainment didn't just say, hey, tell us if you see something bad. They set up a dedicated inbox, protectkq@gmail.com.
Yeah, I saw that in the source material.
And they provided a highly specific format for reporting. They mandated a strict subject line format. It had to be group or member /platform/reason for report.
That's so smart. Because by standardizing the input, KQ can use basic automated scripts to sort, filter, and prioritize thousands of emails instantly.
Exactly. If they see a sudden spike in reports with a specific member's name and the platform YouTube, they know exactly where a coordinated attack is happening in real time.
And they explicitly instructed fans to avoid sending duplicate reports and to refrain from sharing unverified info themselves.
Yeah, which prevents secondary harm to the artist. It's a highly coordinated digital immune system. K-pop fandoms are just unmatched when it comes to organizing.
They really are. But the thing that still trips me up is the leverage these agencies have once they actually identify these people. How are Korean agencies able to threaten actual prison time for YouTube videos?
Oh, this is the craziest part.
Right. Because getting sued for money is one thing, but going to jail over a gossip video is something else entirely. The answer to that lies in South Korea's completely unique legal code.
And later in the episode, we'll talk about the shocking plot twist with how whistleblowers are affected by this that nobody saw coming.
Yeah, so this brings us to the University of San Diego paper, which is absolutely crucial for understanding the stakes of this war. You have to understand the mechanics of Article 307 of the South Korean Criminal Code.
Okay, let's get into it.
In many countries, defamation is strictly a civil matter. If you defame me, I sue you for financial compensation to make me whole. The state doesn't get involved.
But in South Korea, defamation is a criminal offense. It is prosecuted by the state, and it carries heavy fines and actual prison sentences.
And here is where it gets really interesting. This is the fact from the research that completely stopped me in my tracks. Truth is not an absolute defense.
Let's break down exactly how that works, because it defies the fundamental legal assumptions a lot of people hold.
Yeah, please do.
Under Article 307, if you publicly allege facts that are 100% true, and those facts damage someone's reputation, you can be imprisoned for up to 2 years, or fined 5 million won, which is roughly $4,000.
Wait, I need to make sure I fully grasp this. Even if I have irrefutable video evidence, signed documents, and a literal confession proving that what I am saying about someone is a stone-cold fact. If saying it out loud damages their reputation, I can be branded a criminal and sent to prison.
That is correct. In the eyes of the South Korean legal system, the truthfulness of the statement does not automatically negate the crime of damaging a person's social standing.
That is so wild to me.
Now, if the facts you spread are false, the penalty is significantly harsher. It jumps to up to 5 years in prison and a 10 million won fine. And if you disseminate this information through printed materials or broad media like the internet, the penalties scale up even further.
To put it in perspective for our listeners, it operates a bit like a strict liability offense. It's like getting a speeding ticket when you are rushing someone to the emergency room.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
Right. The fact that you had a completely valid, true reason for driving fast does not erase the fact that you broke the speed limit. In Korea, if you break a person's reputation, the fact that you used the truth to do it doesn't automatically get you off the hook.
The speeding ticket analogy highlights the mechanism perfectly. You committed the prohibited act.
Right.
And to understand why this law exists, you really have to look at the cultural and historical foundations of South Korea. The legal system places a massive intrinsic value on privacy and social dignity, often rooted in Confucian values of social harmony and preserving one's face or public honor.
So the state views a person's reputation as a fundamental right that must be protected, sometimes even at the expense of raw, factual transparency.
Exactly. Contrast that with what we see in the United States, which the USD paper outlines to show the stark difference in legal philosophy.
Yeah, in the U.S., the First Amendment protects freedom of speech and the press above almost all else. There is no constitutional protection for your reputation.
If what you say is true, it is legally impossible for it to be defamation. The truth is an absolute shield.
The paper highlights the defamation lawsuit won by Cardi B to illustrate this mechanism. She won a massive civil judgment against a YouTuber who was spreading horrible, fabricated rumors about her health and personal life.
But because Cardi B is a public figure in the U.S., she didn't just have to prove the rumors were false, right?
Right, she had to prove something called actual malice.
Yes, the actual malice standard means a public figure has to prove that the person spreading the rumor either knew it was a lie and said it anyway, or acted with reckless disregard for the truth.
It is an incredibly high burden of proof designed specifically to protect the speaker and ensure open public discourse. The U.S. system heavily favors the person speaking.
While the South Korean system heavily favors the person whose reputation is being discussed.
Exactly. So if you are an entertainment agency trying to protect your artists from malicious cyber wreckers, having a legal system that heavily favors the victim's reputation is an incredibly powerful weapon.
Oh, for sure. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update, because we are about to get into the darker side of this deep dive.
Yeah, so what does this all mean? If these laws are so effective at shielding K-pop idols from stalkers and profit-driven liars, what happens when that exact same power is in the hands of someone who actually did something wrong?
This is the phenomenon legal scholars refer to as the chilling effect.
Uh-oh.
When truth is not a viable defense, powerful entities, whether they are politicians, corporations, or entertainment agencies, can weaponize the criminal code to silence legitimate criticism and bury their own wrongdoings.
When you look at the historical analysis provided by the University of San Diego, you see exactly how different political administrations have utilized this law. And just to be clear, we are just conveying the academic paper's analysis here to show how the law operates. We aren't taking any political sides.
Right, the historical context is just vital to understand the law. According to the paper, during Lee Myung-bak's tenure, the government indicted journalists who published reports questioning the official investigation into the tragic sinking of the Cheonan naval warship.
The state argued that simply questioning the government's narrative criminally defamed the naval officers and the Minister of Defense.
And the paper also points out that under Park Geun-hye's administration, the government took legal action against a Japanese journalist who published an article merely speculating on the president's whereabouts during the Seoul ferry disaster.
They also brought criminal suits against a major Korean newspaper that published leaked internal documents.
The mechanism of the chilling effect is crucial to understand here. The goal of these lawsuits isn't always to put a journalist in a prison cell. The goal is to make the process the punishment.
Because even if you are eventually found innocent, your life is ruined in the meantime.
Exactly. If you are a journalist facing criminal defamation, you are subjected to police interrogations. You have to spend vast sums of money on legal defense.
Your passport might be restricted.
Yes, and you might lose your job because you are under active criminal investigation. You spend years fighting the state.
So even if a judge eventually acquits you, the message to every other journalist in the country is clear. If you speak up, this is the agonizing gauntlet you will face. It fosters a huge climate of self-censorship.
And this brings us right back to the entertainment industry because the exact same legal mechanics apply.
Right. If the government can use criminal defamation to silence journalists, entertainment agencies can use it to silence victims of actual abuse.
The academic paper connects this directly to the massive wave of bullying accusations that swept South Korea back in 2021.
Oh, I remember that. It was essentially South Korea's #MeToo reckoning regarding school violence and abuse.
Dozens of victims came forward on internet forums, mostly anonymously, accusing high-profile celebrities of severe past abuse, ranging from physical extortion to emotional violence.
It gained massive traction with sports figures first. The volleyball twins, Lee Jae-young and Lee Dae-young, were accused of horrific systemic bullying by former teammates. The initial public backlash was swift.
A petition demanding action gathered 150,000 signatures, and they were suspended from the national team.
But just a few months later, the narrative completely flipped.
The twins went on television, announced they were filing criminal defamation charges against the very victims who exposed them, and then quietly moved overseas to play for a club in Greece.
And that strategic counterattack sparked a terrifying realization for anyone who had spoken out against K-pop idols.
It really did. The waves of accusations hit major groups. We saw allegations against Stray Kids' Heen Jin, who subsequently went on a hiatus.
Yeah, and we saw accusations against G.I.D.L.'s Soojin, which eventually led to her departure from the group.
But almost universally, the entertainment agencies responded by issuing aggressive statements threatening strict criminal defamation charges against the accusers.
This is the ultimate catch-22 for victims in this legal system. Imagine being a victim of severe bullying. You gather the courage to write a post exposing your abuser. Even if every single word you write is entirely unequivocally true, you still face the terrifying threat of criminal prosecution.
Because, again, truth is not an absolute defense if it damages the celebrity's reputation.
But doesn't the law have some sort of safety valve? I remember reading about a public interest exception in the source material. Like, if you are exposing an abuser to protect others, doesn't that protect you from going to jail?
Article 310 does contain a public interest exception. It states that if a statement is true and made solely for the public interest, it cannot be punished. But the operative word there is solely.
So
Yeah, the courts interpret this exception incredibly narrowly.
how narrow are we talking?
Well, if a victim exposes an abuser, the defense lawyers will argue that the victim is motivated by personal vindication, anger, or revenge.
Which of course they are. They were abused.
Exactly. But the courts often agree with the lawyers, ruling that because the statement was not made exclusively for the public good, because the victim had a personal grievance, they failed to qualify for the exception.
Wow.
The victim is then criminally punished for telling the truth about their own abuse.
That is just heartbreaking. The paper highlights the tragic 2009 case of actress Jang Jaeyeon, who died by suicide. She left behind a devastating document naming dozens of high-ranking executives and media figures who had allegedly abused and exploited her.
It's such a sad case.
It really is. But major media outlets were terrified to even report the names on her list because they feared being prosecuted for criminal defamation by those very executives.
A law theoretically designed to protect human dignity ended up shielding alleged abusers from public scrutiny.
It creates an incredibly precarious environment for whistleblowers. This is why anonymity was the only shield many of those 2021 bullying victims had. They posted on anonymous forums to avoid the legal retaliation.
But there have been significant political pushes in South Korea, such as the proposed cyber defamation law, to limit internet anonymity entirely, forcing users to verify their real identities before posting.
If you combine a ban on anonymity with a criminal defamation law where truth isn't a defense, victims of abuse would have absolutely zero avenues to speak out safely.
They would be entirely boxed in. And that is the complex reality we have to grapple with when we observe this industry.
It is a really heavy reality to process because you, the listener, whether you are consuming K-pop media, reading global news, or just scrolling through social media, the laws governing that digital space completely dictate what truths are allowed to be told. The war that Ateez's agency, KQ Entertainment, is fighting right now is undeniably righteous. Protecting artists from stalkers, putting physical tracking devices on their cars, and fighting back against cyber wreckers who manufacture lies to game the YouTube algorithm for cash, that is a necessary battle.
Completely necessary. No artist should endure that.
But the legal sledgehammer they are utilizing has a deeply complicated and dark history.
It leaves us with a profound dilemma regarding the structure of our digital societies. As fans, we celebrate when agencies finally step up and protect our biases from toxic, profit-driven harassment.
Of course we do.
But we have to look at the broader implications of the tools they use to do it. If a society is forced to choose between protecting a person's reputation at all costs and allowing absolute freedom of speech, what is the correct balance?
That is the million-dollar question.
Could the very same legal framework that successfully shields a beloved idol from a dangerous cyber wrecker today be the exact mechanism used to silence a legitimate whistleblower tomorrow?
It fundamentally changes how you consume information. Imagine walking out to your car, finding that GPS tracker, and knowing this strict law is the only shield standing between you and the people trying to destroy your life for clicks.
It's a lifesaver in that scenario.
But then imagine being a victim with a true story of abuse to tell, looking at that exact same law and realizing it's the very thing forcing you into silence. The line between protection and oppression is razor thin. You've been listening to StarScope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.